God, so many buttons. Right, I think we're there. Ooh, I am quite loud. Am I loud? Nah, I'm alright. I just think I'm loud because I'm an introvert, so anytime I make any noise, I feel bad about it. Hello. Been a while since I've done the old Cubase stuff, isn't it? I sort of wanted a bit of a change. 1 2 1 2. There I am. I wanted a little bit of a change. Sort of felt like I didn't have anything to do on Cubase. I wanted to have a bit more purpose to what I was doing in Cubase rather than just making noises. So I started doing the synthesizer hardware doorless synth stream where I can literally just make noises, and that's fine because that's the whole flipping point. But I wanted to also, in addition to extra to that point, I wanted to be smarter with how I make my YouTube videos. And I thought what would be really, might be fun, might be helpful, it might not work, I don't know. What might be good is if I try to repurpose some of my Cubase streams or the hardware streams, repurpose them either for composition projects or for YouTube videos. So I'm going to try and repurpose today's video as a YouTube video. And I've forgotten to plug that camera in, so that might backfire. But it also might be fine. Oh, that came out of nowhere. I think I just inhaled several bugs. Lovely. So, right, let me explain a little bit about what I'm doing, because that will be in some way helpful to all of us. What I want to do today is talk about speed composing. So not necessarily how to write better music, not necessarily how to improve the audio quality or the compositional quality of your music or my music. I want to talk about literally writing music fast, because writing decent quality music really, really fast is one of like only a handful of things that I am both good at, but also acknowledge that I am good at and feel good enough about it that I'm happy to say that I'm good about it. Does that make sense? Because like there's a few things that I'm basically good at, but I don't like talking about them because it feels like bragging. But I am actually really quite good at writing okay quality music fast. I mean, I've taken a few jobs where, and well, done favors for friends as well, where they've needed music really urgently and they've said, I need it by tomorrow, so like I'll happily take whatever quality you can do, and then I'll actually be able to do something quite good rather than just something that serves a purpose. I can actually do something pretty good in like no time. So that's something I wanted to talk about, because I think that's actually, you know, something I'm good at, rather than me trying to teach you about things that are things that I want to learn. I can actually share things that I am already good at. So, what does this mean in practice? It means that I have to do a really long spiel to justify why I'm here, apparently, because that's what's going on now. I am going to do this in kind of little sections. So I have, it's not really, it's kind of bullet points rather than a script. I got this thing here. You can't see that, and you're not supposed to, so that's fine. So I'm going to go through these different points and try to sort of address the different things, and obviously we're going to be working in Cubase, which is why we've got Cubase here. And I'm going to take my time with it. I might say things a couple times, but I'll tell you that I'm saying things a couple times, and I might also be addressing this camera over here rather than that one up there. So if you're live, you can see me here. If you're watching this later, you can see me there. But this will be edited out because I'm clever. Yeah, so this is all going to be repurposed, so if I want to take another run at explaining something, I'm going to. That doesn't mean... Sorry, I'm just sighing as if I don't want to be here. No, I don't want to be here. I'm a little tired, but I've kind of given myself this weird rush of adrenaline by, like, breathing really fast, and that seems to work. I'm a fan of breathing. I really am. I think breathing is underrated. Breathing, blinking, and yawning, I think, are three things that we should do more of. What was I going to say? No, I have actually lost my train of thought. I distracted myself there. Oh yeah. So just because I'm recording this for a later project doesn't mean I won't be answering questions. So if you do want to know anything, you can just stick it in the comments, and I will do the best to answer them. Do my best to answer them. God, I can just keep talking, huh? This is also the first time I'm streaming Cubase out to several platforms. Haha. So I should currently be live on Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, Periscope. Cool. That does all seem to be working. And I have all of your chats combined over here, which is good. So if you want anything, just give us a holler. Right, where do we want to begin? Well, I want to begin by turning my camera on. That's probably really smart. Will it make a beeping noise? Hey, there it is. I'm even in focus. Hey, look at that. So, let me just think about where to begin. That crown is distracting. That seems better, but no way is that going to stay on. Go away. Nope, did that just... landed on the space bar on the streaming computer. I was worried that was going to turn everything off. No, we're good. So I might start by talking about why you might want to write fast. So I'm winging it. Normally my YouTube videos would be really well scripted, but this is not that case. I'm also going to do a clap so I can sync everything. That was for future me. You're welcome, future Liam. Yellow. Right. So why would you want to work fast? I think it's important to... Oh, my words have already failed me. Oh no. I think it's really important to discern the difference between... Stupid way of saying that. I think it's important to acknowledge why we want to make music fast rather than necessarily good. And I mean, there's a few reasons. If you're working in commercial music industries, if you're doing music for adverts, or if you need to make, I don't know, if someone has a podcast or a YouTube channel and they want a really quick sound effect or piece of music to, I don't know, maybe they're doing like a sketch or a cutaway or something, but their video turnover is really fast. I think it's important to be able to do things really fast to then get that work. And hopefully down the line, some of the work you get will be, won't have quite such a fast turnover, but then being able to do that is a really good skill. So that, I think, is why it's important to be able to write music fast. It's not for everyone, I appreciate, and is something that I've definitely just kind of fallen into doing. But now that I've been doing it a while, I sort of have a name as being someone who can write music reasonably fast. So that's something I do, and it's proven to be quite helpful. So we're going to talk about some of the different ways that you can do that. Breathe more. So the very first thing you want to do is think about what instruments you can write fast with. So, I can phrase that so much better, can't I? The first thing you want to do is think about what instruments. The first thing you want to do, oh my god, get it right, come on. The first thing you want to do is think about how you can write fastest. If you play guitar, then maybe you want to try speed composing with your guitar, because that's the instrument you play, you're better at it. If you're a pianist, then maybe a MIDI controller or a keyboard is the way to go. I work fastest not with guitar, despite being a reasonably good guitarist. I write fastest by double clicking into the gaps in a MIDI editor. That's just for no reason how I work fastest. So I would suggest the first thing you need to do after acknowledging how you write music the fastest is make it so that setup is really, really straightforward. So for me or anyone using the piano roll and the MIDI editor, that's easy because you just open up an instrument in your DAW of choice. I'm using Cubase here, but you don't have to, of course. If you want to use guitar or an actual piano or anything, you need to have that basically set up all the time. That's no way around it. You've just got to have it ready to go at any second, basically. Cool, so that sort of covers the why, I think. Oh, excuse me. So the next one is presets. So we'll talk a little bit about presets. Maybe I could pull up, just so I have it here. Come on, Massive. There we go. Oh, let's just load up any of these, just so we have the visual. That'll do. So presets can be really, really helpful when you're trying to do music. Presets can be really, really helpful when you're trying to make music really fast. And there's two kinds of presets I want to talk about. The first is what has probably sprung to your mind already, and that is presets for instruments and plugins. So instruments and effects, basically. And when you buy a set of instruments, or when you get them free with whatever software you're using, you will probably have a bunch of presets already in there. Now, those are pretty handy, but they're... well, let's put it this way. Everyone's going to be using them. So they're not going to be original. And yes, we are focusing on writing music fast, but you also want to be able to stand out. So I think it's worth investing time in creating your own presets that are yours and no one else's. I mean, you can follow tutorials on how to make different kind of sounds. So if you follow someone's tutorial on how to make a crazy talking dubstep bass in Massive by Native Instruments, for example, you're not going to get it exactly the same as the person doing the tutorial, are you? Like, probably similar, but you're going to maybe tweak one or two things. So that will be your own preset. So having those preset instruments is, I think, important so that you do retain your own voice and you don't have to think too much about, oh, well, you don't have to worry about being unique when you're writing fast. You can just pull up your own presets and away you go. The other kind of preset is just the template. It's not really a preset, is it? I guess, yeah, the word template is more appropriate. So the actual Cubase project file or the Pro Tools project file, Ableton project file, whatever, having templates is really important. And you can do... what am I trying to say here? There's lots you can do with a template. It isn't just, you know, the instruments you've loaded up. So if you're doing an electro thing, maybe, oh, let's say... I'm just going to do a really quick template. Oh, if battery loads. There we go. Kits. Let's go for something slightly more... There we go. And then let's go... so what do we want in chords? Maybe let's go... Screw it, Pad Shop, why not? So it's not all entirely Native Instruments. That'll do. And then melody can be... well, I don't know. Let's go... that's a bit horrid. Maybe let's go something a little more modern just for the sake of this. Where is half of my stuff? This is good, isn't it? Only just working that out now. Let's go Retrolog, I guess. And then let's try and find a lead sound. Lead. That'll have to do. So, right. I'm going to actually turn off the camera. Boop. Because I can just do this for you guys on stream, and then I'll cut back to it. So we want to do like a 4-bar loop, and then let's also change the tempo, so let's maybe go 90, I guess. And then you'll see what I mean about speed composing when we do this. Let's put that there and that there. Let's do that one and that one slightly lower. And then we're going to separate out the snares, just so they're a bit wider. And this is all stuff that actually I probably would put into a template. Yeah, there we go. How does that sound? Pretty bad. Let's speed up 130. Let's double that bit up. So that's fine. Let's put that over here. Actually, no, let's... I mean, that's clearly not going to work. Right, tell you what, let's go 3 octaves sub, why not? How does this sound? It's not amazing, but then it's not supposed to be. What was that? B? That's going to be annoying. Right, how does this sound? That will absolutely do. I should have timed how long that took me to do. That would have been fun. Okay, so stick this camera back on. Ooh, now I am. Oh no, that's all gone a bit wrong. Oh no. And of course you guys don't know what happened there at all. I could have said it was fine and you wouldn't have known. Oh well. Still working? Still working. Cool, just checking. The other kind of preset we should it's not preset, is it? It's a template. The other kind of preset, well, not really a preset, it's a template. You can do templates for different styles of music in your DAW of choice, so Cubase, Pro Tools, Ableton, whatever. Make presets for specific genres and specific feels within those genres, so upbeat electro, contemplative, contemplative, that's the word, contemplative blues rock, for example. Think about the different feels and genres that you are likely to be asked to do, and just whip up some quick templates. So this one here took me about 10 minutes to do. Gonna let that fade out. And it's not the most groundbreaking piece of music in the world. It doesn't have to be. It's... what am I trying to say? It's not the most groundbreaking piece of music in the world, is it? But it doesn't have to be. What we're trying to avoid here is sitting down in front of a computer with a deadline, staring at a blank screen. Because anyone who's ever had to do an essay, which I'm sure is probably most of you, like, we've all had to go to school and do written work, right? And there's nothing harder than just looking at a blank piece of paper, having a deadline, and not having a clue where to even begin. So you just bypass that entirely by having a template. And then as long as you remember, oh, I probably want to change the BPM, I probably want to change the key, and I might even want to change some of the presets, but at least you have a starting point, a 4-bar phrase with some kind of melody. So then you just adapt that whenever you need to write a piece of music fast. I think that's kind of everything I want to say about templates. Yeah, okay. I didn't really specify that it was templates, which Jack Marwick on YouTube. Hey man, how's it going? I didn't really specify there that we were talking about... You know what, I think that'll be fine in the video. I can make that clearer if I have to. Yeah, so do I want to do another example? So what, for you guys on stream right now, I'll turn this off. I'm going to do a example which is just another genre. So let's try and whip up a blues template. So let's maybe try, rather than battery, we'll probably go contact. In fact, we're probably going to go contact for most of this. Bass, we're going to go contact as well. I think we're going to go contact for everything, actually. Lost contact. Oh, there it is. Contact and melody. Maybe we don't even need another one there. So, kit. Well, Contact's got a load of kits to choose from. We'll probably go... Oh, let's say we're doing like a kind of slightly retro-y feeling blues ensemble. So, Ebony kit, yeah, fine. What kind of preset do we want? So they've already got their presets in there, which is perfect. Let's go hard bop for fun, which is number 3, chords. So let's have piano in there. Oh, yeah, my keyboards aren't working, so let's maybe go... how does this one sound? Yeah, that'll do. And then the bass is going to be a double bass. If I can find it. Actually, this leads into one of my next points quite well. I can probably blend those two together, because the next 2 points are simple ensemble and starting point. So what, in terms of genre, makes the most sense? Oh no, that's the starting point in terms of what you do. That won't make any sense to you guys, so why did I say any of it out loud? Jack Markwick, going to start my GCSE music comp with no brief on Monday. We use Cubase. Got any tips? Oh man, Jack, are you a subscriber to my YouTube channel? Because not that, like, you shouldn't be. Doesn't make any sense. My day job is I am a music technician, and I work with GCSE musicians like every day. We use Pro Tools at my place, and I kind of hate it. So the good news is, using Cubase, like, you can hit the ground running with... Oh, go away. Cubase is cool because you hit the ground running. Oh, you're already a subscriber. Brilliant. So you may already know about my day job. Cubase is great because you can hit the ground running. In terms of tips, the stuff that comes up with literally every student we have is try and vary the dynamics as drastically as you possibly can. The annoying thing about GCSE music is it doesn't always bear a lot of resemblance to the music that you or I might listen to for pleasure. You have to really spell it out for the examiners when you're doing something. So when you talk about dynamic contrast, it means literally everything's up to 11, and then when you bring it down, it's got to be really, really subtle. You've got to lose instruments for different points. You've got to vary the playing techniques. So rather than just writing a guitar part, which is chords or a melody or whatever, got a big hair in my mouth. Oh, that was right down my throat. Sorry, I didn't need to vocalize any of that, but it was disgusting. What was I saying? So when you're writing instrumental parts, make sure that the instruments are making the most of how the instruments are made. So rather than just writing a chord progression for guitars, for example, try adding in, you know, when you play a chord but then you put your hands over the strings and you strum it and you get that mute. Try putting some of those in, because you can't really do that with any other instrument. Adding in palm mutes or hammer-ons or natural harmonics, all those things that are unique to that instrument. Likewise with drums, you can do cool stuff like flams, F-L-A-M, flam, and you can open the hi-hat and you can close the hi-hat and you can do all kinds of weird stuff. You can do rim shots. So just really think about when you're using instruments, what those different instruments can do. And even if you're, well, so you're going to be working on Cubase, aren't you? So then make sure you try stuff like automation, because that is something that you can only really do in Cubase. So you're maximizing the potential of the software. Examiners like panning as well. I don't know why, they just do. What are some of the effects you learn at in the set works? It's flanger, panning, overdubbing, filters, and distortion. Make sure you use some of those as plugins, because I think you can get marks for use of technology. So you just would do like a screenshot of the plugins you've used and the settings you've used, so you will get marks for saying, I used panning, it has this effect and I like that. The only other thing, God, I'm giving you a lot of information for free. This is brilliant. Love the internet. The only other thing that trips GCSE students up is they always seem to forget that they have to have written evidence of the thing they've made. Now, Cubase, I believe... Let's double check this actually while we're here. I believe Cubase has a score editor. I've never used it. Scores, open score editor. Yeah, you have a score editor, so you will, if you're writing MIDI, you will have a way to print stuff out from the score, which is perfect. If you're recording in like guitar parts or vocals or whatever, you will have to have some written score for that. Don't forget that, and don't write things that are impossible to play, because then you'll not be able to figure out how to write them. I hope that helps. Good luck with your GCSE. You have no brief. Ooh. Well, actually, that's interesting that you don't have a brief yet. Slightly problematic, but whatever. The good news is, everything I'm talking about in this stream will help you, because you can just make a template and then alter that in some way when it comes to when you actually have your brief. So if you just like work out what instruments you like or what instruments you can write for, then you can write a few little chord progressions, and then if it turns out, oh, I need to do something sad, you can just make all the chords minor, basically. We do two, one with the brief, one without. We've already done the one with. Oh, I see. So this is your free composition. Right, I misunderstood your point, my bad. So what Jack is saying is that you have one where you have to write to a specific brief. So like you're making music for someone's commissioned you to do a piece of music basically, and the other one you just get to do whatever you want. The free compositions where you do it without a brief are really fun because they're really freeing for students. You can just do literally whatever music you listen to. You can just have fun with it. So I suggest you do that. Does your school make you do a performance of the tracks as well, or do you just hand in like a... Do you just send off like a recorded CD? That's something that's quite interesting. Because at our place we do performances in front of friends and family. If those performances go horribly wrong, we have a recording backed up that's just pulled out of Pro Tools or whatever. Oh, you don't have to perform it. Okay, fine. Yeah, so just go nuts on Cubase basically, as long as you have a way to evidence what you've written, you know, you'll be fine. We had an MP3 screenshots and any notes you want. Yeah, perfect. You may have to do a score as well, so it's worth having that in your back pocket just in case. In fact, it might, if you have a score, it's really easy to write on the score. At this point, panning effect comes in. At this point, guitarist uses palm mute, because an examiner has to sit down and listen to your piece, and if they don't hear a palm mute, they're not going to give you a mark for a palm mute. But if you've written palm mute, it sort of doesn't matter what they hear, because you've intended for there to be one. Does that make sense? Right, let's crack on. Best of luck, Jack. You're gonna nail it. How do I know you're gonna nail it? Because you've subscribed to this channel. That is the stupidest thing I've ever said. So, we're talking about blues. Wait, is that the right one? Contact 1, contact 2. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So the second instrument we want is a double bass. Which double bass? Double bass. Double bass. Strings, double bass. That's the wrong kind of double bass, buddy. Band, bass, upright bass. Amazing. And we've got keyboards already. So let's do a really... I'm going to attempt to say your first name, and I apologise in advance. Okta? Okta. I need to say it as if it's not a question. I thought it said speed composting. Nah, there's no way to do that fast. You just gotta let it take its time. If you try to rush that, it's going to go horribly wrong, you know. Right, drum kit first. So... so it's blues, so we're going to stick it in triplet time to get a bit of a swing. How does that sound? And then we'll go... do that, and then just to vary it a bit. Okay. So that's our drum line. Amazing. Bass line. Well, it's blues again, so walking bass. Let's go. Ooh, C sharp. Which is fine, but we can go a little bit more advanced. let's try that, just to be a little more fun. And then how does the walk up go? And then we'll vary that for fun. And then what key are we in? C sharp. Oh, actually, I can record this bit. Yeah, for the video that happens later. Oh, I'm really smart. Camera, go. No, that was the wrong button. I didn't press the on button. Wow. Clever. There I am. Right. So the point here is about extrapolating parts from other parts. This is just as well I remember to do this because I'm so clever. I've lost my notes. Oh no. Oh, notes. There it is. So extrapolating parts from other parts. Extrapolating means stealing. So I've got this blues piece. And I want a keyboard part. Why would I spend ages writing a brand new keyboard part when I can copy the bass part, shove it in there, and then I've already got a starting point? So sure, I don't want exactly the same thing. So because of how instruments sound, I think this is actually going to be an octave above anyway. So that's fine. All I'm going to do for the keyboard part is stick a chord on top. So if it's C sharp, put it there. So all I've done is copy that bass part and then added a few chords. So rather than having to write the whole thing again from scratch, and this is going to do the job perfectly fine. And if you really wanted to, you could just get rid of those now if you wanted to, but at least you have the starting point as a reference as well. I find that quite a lot. If I'm writing one part, I'll be referencing another part in some way, so having them on the same screen in the same MIDI editor can be really helpful. So that's extrapolating chords from bass parts. It's a little easier, or it saves a little more time with other genres like electronic music, for example, because the bass line might be changing the whole time, or root bass note might be changing the whole time. So then you just copy that and paste a fifth above and then put a third in there, and you probably got to just watch out for any chord extensions or major or minor third. So that's a real time saver as well. Is that everything I wanted to say about that extrapolating? I think so. Yeah, okay, that's that bit done. Amazing. Oh, we're making such good time. I don't know if we are making good time, because it could be that I come to edit this and it's all garbage. So ignoring the recording side of things, I was trying to just demonstrate another kind of template building. So for blues and jazz, I think this would be a fine template. Cool. Something else you might want to do. Oh, I need to record this bit. Oh, come on, Taylor. Sort it out. Do. Oh, come on, buddy. There it is. Further consideration for your templates is adding very, very basic mastering, like really super basic. And when I say basic, I mean an EQ that kills bass below 20 odd hertz, maybe raises the highs ever so slightly, and then some kind of maximizer or limiter. And all you really want to do, set it to optimize to maybe like, I don't know, 30%. If you can choose the percentage of the mix, let's go 90, and output to -0.5. If you don't know what any of that means and you have no interest in knowing, that's fine. But all that's going to do is make sure that you get a nice leveled output. So if you really do have zero time to make your piece of music, then you don't have to worry about it being mastered, because it's basically going to be fit for purpose because you've got this maximizer in there. Now, I would like to do a little bit more mixing in detail if I had the option, but sometimes you've got to work so fast that you literally can't. So having something that's, you know what, close enough is pretty good. And let's just have a listen to the difference there. So I'll turn those off. And now with them on. And if you can't see it, just have a look at this level meter. So we're sort of in this area. See how it's just raised it quite a lot? It's basically taking, well, what a maximizer does is it takes the lowest sounding things and it raises them so they're all about the same point, and that point is -0.5 decibels, because you don't want to hit zero, like literally ever, because your life will be ruined, is the short version. So having a really, really simple but genre appropriate mastering plugins on the, let me take another one of that because I screwed up my words. In your templates, having really basic but genre appropriate plugins on your master output chain is going to save you a little bit more time and just give you a little bit more of a polish, a bit more of a sheen to your expert. And it's just one more thing that you don't have to worry about when you're sending your very quick, very urgent music off to whatever insane person has asked you to make it. Jack Marwick, would you recommend, if possible, recording stuff IRL? In terms of speed composing or in terms of your GCSE? I guess my answer is yes to both. I sort of prefaced, I think, before you joined us, Jack, that whatever you write, I keep not being able to say this right, however it is that you write music the fastest is the smart thing to do. If you are a really decent guitarist and you can just plug in your guitar, strum a few things out and it's good, then you need to make sure that however you record is set up and ready to go at all times. So I know that I have my pod farm down here somewhere. I know which jack I need to plug into, and I know which guitars work best for which subjects. So if I want to use guitar in something, I can just plug in and go, and it's no real problem. I don't write very fast on guitar. I write quite good stuff on guitar, and I'm a pretty good guitarist, but I don't write fast on guitar. I write fast when I'm doing this here, where I'm just like tapping little empty spaces on a MIDI editor. And I would say that there isn't a right or wrong way to do stuff. Don't worry about feeling like, oh, this isn't real music because I'm not really playing an instrument. No one cares. No big deal. Like, music is music. Doesn't matter. And also, the thing with speed composing is that you're probably writing someone's background music. You're probably writing something that isn't going to be taking center stage at any point. So don't worry about it being the most cool, inspiring thing. just worry about it being good music. In reference to your GCSEs, in terms of instruments, I think you're probably going to have some kind of vocal, and that will actually have to be a person singing. They haven't quite nailed the art of VST plugin singers just yet. I can't wait for that day, like deep fakes of famous singers. That's going to be crazy. But that day is not today, I'm afraid. I don't know if they would necessarily prefer it, but you don't want to risk coming across one examiner who's like, oh, they didn't really use an instrument. I don't think they have any right to say that you should or should not, but I think maybe if you can get in, I don't know, maybe a really simple instrumental part, I think that will be a bonus. The thing with writing on computers is there's not really any way to necessarily know that someone tapped it in on a MIDI editor or played a MIDI controller. Because the thing with MIDI controllers is that if you play out of time, you have like a quantized shortcut, so you can just put it perfectly in time, so it doesn't matter if you screw it up. And I do that all the time. I play stuff in and like my timing's terrible, so I just fixed. So they're not necessarily going to know, but I would maybe have like one acoustic instrument in there other than maybe your voice, a voice, your sung voice. You know what I'm getting at. Right, where are we with this speed composing notes? So I've spoken about the different kind of templates for different genres and having genre appropriate master effects chains. Spoken about sound presets. Man, I really need the bathroom. I also need to share less. Yeah, I'm going to nip to the loo. I'm going to put it on pause. And you guys don't have to go anywhere. That's the amazing thing. Be right back. That was an excellent bathroom trip. I'm really good at using the toilet. And oversharing. Those are my two skill areas. Oh, what am I on about? Right, let's go through my notes. Just go through. Have I talked about keeping a simple ensemble? I suppose I could do that. That's a really short one, so I'll maybe put that in the intro video. I'm massively winging it at this point. Is that camera on? Sounded like it's on. There I am. Oh. Here's a bonus piece of advice. Whatever you're doing, whatever style, whatever feel, try to keep the ensemble, so the instruments you're using, try to keep it as simple as you possibly can. I would say some kind of rhythm track, so drums or percussion, something playing chords, whether that's guitar, piano, some kind of pad, something doing a bass line, usually a bass, and something doing a melody, whatever that is, whether it's vocals, whether it's lead guitar, whether it's another synthesizer, or maybe it's the right hand of the piano. 3 or 4 instruments. Like, I don't foresee any situation where you're writing something for speed, where you're writing something fast, and yeah, there's just no reason to use more than 4 instruments, really. You can even get away with 3 if you really want. If you want to do a left and right hand piano, chords in the left, melody in the right, done. You don't even need to use the tonic, because the bass guitar is going to be doing that. The bass instrument's going to be doing that. Right, that covers that bit. What was the next bit? The starting point. So I suppose I should go at the start, really. I've really done this in a stupid order. So, another thing you need to work out... not punching your microphone is quite important, Liam. Come on. Another thing you want to work out about you and what works for you, how you work fastest and how you work best, is your starting point. Now, this can change dependent on what genre you're working in. So if I'm working in electro, I probably want a really solid 4 on the floor beat to begin with, and then an offbeat bass, and then from there chords, and from there melody. That's just how I write electro music. If you're speed writing a piece of guitar music, rock, metal, whatever, you're probably going to start on guitar. Really, that makes the most sense. You need to work out what works for you. If you're a singer-songwriter, it's likely that vocals is going to be the first thing, or lyrics rather, is going to be the first thing you want to write, and then you build everything around that. What other styles have we got? I think blues is quite formulaic, so I think once you write the template out, you then just fill in the gaps to make it a more unique piece of music. So yeah, that's another thing to consider, which requires a degree of introspection and really thinking about how you work best, working out what your best starting point is, so then you don't have to walk into a blank score and think, oh, I actually don't know how to start music. There's a lot you can do before you even have to write any piece of music, just learning about yourself, and this is like one of those big things. I think that makes sense. Right, what is on the list? I love having a list. I love having what essentially amounts to a script for live streams. It makes everything easier. Okay, so I need to refresh my memory ever so slightly. Okay, so the next piece of advice is about standard... It's not about the next piece of advice is. Come on, Taylor. Next piece of advice is standard chord progressions. Now, you've probably seen the Axis of Awesome video. I've seen it a million times. You must have at least seen it once. There are standard chord progressions within pop music, within rock, within blues, within jazz, within electro. These chord progressions have been used so much that basically no one owns them. Now, I'm not saying that when you're writing a piece of music and you're trying to do it fast, that you should just lift these chord progressions from other songs because everyone else has and you can get away with it, and you know you can. What I'm saying is these can provide a really good guideline for if you're really stuck with a section. So let's say you're writing a piece of upbeat pop music and you've got your verse chords done, but you're not quite sure about the chorus. I mean, there's a reason that we have these standard chord progressions. It's because they work, and they work really, really well. And maybe you worry about making something more interesting in the bass line, or the drum pattern, or the melody, or the lyrics, but the chords can just be the standard 4 chords. So I'm going to write those out just as an example. So, I don't know, let's pick a key. Let's go... let's just do it in C. Come on, I don't have to impress anyone. So C... Oh, is it C, G, A minor, F. Let's make it a bit faster so we don't... Oh, oops. I went the wrong way. Nice. That was wrong. Let's try that again. It's a really great sequence, isn't it? The 4 chords. And you can totally hear why it's used time and time again in pop music, because it's really good and it's nice and it's familiar. So my advice in terms of standard chord progressions is be aware of what they are in your chosen genre and don't be afraid to overuse them, but don't lean on them for literally everything. Don't let these common chord progressions dictate your entire composition. They're a tool. They shouldn't be the actual song. Yeah. What are some other chord progression standards? We've got, if we reorder these slightly, oops. Another really great standard progression is a 1-5-4. Is that a 5-4? No, I did that wrong. Oopsie. Another great standard chord progression is a 1-5-4. This is blues, rock, some pop as well. Louie Louie, which you may have heard by... I mean, there's a million versions of Louie Louie, isn't there? This is another good one. It's not revolutionary, but it feels familiar, and that's a good thing in music sometimes, knowing that you can just hear a couple chords and you sort of know how it's going to end. That is a good thing a lot of the time. What is another standard chord progression? Oh, in minor, that was it. Oops. I've done that all wrong. So, going in the other direction, I'm hearing noises again. To go in the other direction for a moment, if you know that there are chord progressions that you use all the time, be aware of that and know to not lean on them, because otherwise all your music will start... actually, no. I'm going to take that back mid-sentence. Is there anything necessarily wrong with that? No, I think that's more to do with when you're writing what I'm just going to call actual music. So when the point of the composition isn't to do it fast, it's to do it well. I think when you're doing that, it's really important to acknowledge what chord progressions you overuse, whether they are the pop ones or whatever they are. When I'm writing a piece of music, this is the progression I always use, especially in bass lines for some reason. what's that? A 1-3-7 in minor. I don't know. I just like the sound of it. Sometimes I'll go 1-3-4 minor. Sometimes. So that's just something I'm like hyper aware of now, and will try to avoid when at all possible. Right, back to my notes. How am I doing for time, by the way? I should really be paying attention to that, but I'm not, because I'm just talking. Where am I at? How do I know how long I've been going? 21:40. Oh, okay, I've been going an hour. That's fine. Why am I getting really crucial emails when I'm live? This always happens. If you want to hear back from someone, like, I swear, just go live and then everyone will immediately start. Go away. Sorry. Where are my notes? Standard chord progressions. So I think I've covered standard chord progressions. They're great, but don't use them. Don't lean on them for your entire song. Just use them to fill in the gaps, you know. Extrapolating chords. I feel like we've covered that. Yeah, we have. Okay, amazing. Right, so that means that I can turn this off. Goodbye. Boop. And boop. So what might be fun now is just to set myself a few time-based challenges. Just literally see what I can get done. Mode change. Change the instruments a little bit. And then I used to do these 5-minute challenges, which were a lot of fun. Oh no, that's 5 hours. That's not what I want. So let's find a bass. Acid bass. Is that good acid or bad acid? Bad acid. Oh, come on, you can do it. Oh my god. Anyone else get deafened just then? 3-octave sub. Perfect. So that's bass. Kit, let's do battery again, and we'll work out keys as we go. Well, no, actually, let's do a real. That was a bit lame. That'll do. Keys, let's go Pad Shop. I like Pad Shop. Maybe you know that because I've used it a few times already. Let's go for Analog Love. That'll do. Right, so starting the timer. Let's see how we do. So drum kit. I'm going to change the tempo as well to maybe like 143. Put that over there. Still quite fast. I prefer slow electro. And this will be very similar to the pattern I did at the start for the electro thing, because it's a pattern I like. Oops. And at the end, let's go something like that. Cool. does that sound? Oh. Well, that was 5 minutes, so let's see what we got. Oops. It's all right, isn't it? Brian Wallington. Hi, Brian. By implication, I don't think you're a subscriber. Hi, Liam. Just saw this by chance. I don't know what you're doing, but it looks very exciting. That's my entire life. I don't know what I'm doing, but people seem interested by it, which is nice. Brian, I am speed composing, so I am writing music that is not necessarily good, but has been done fast. So what I might do at this point is actually we'll do a couple more 5-minute challenges in a second because they're fun. Basically, that's the whole point of live streaming. So what I did, as I stated earlier, when I'm writing electro, I tend to go kit, bass, keys, melody, or chords, melody, whatever. So drum beat was the first thing to happen. Electro tend to do kicks on every beat with some sort of kick layer on the first one just for emphasis, and then some kind of snare on the 3 and 4 beats. I've layered a snare and a... Oh, you've been subscribed for a while and dropping now and then. Oh, that's cool. I need to go through my list of subscribers, although there's nearly 2,000 of you, and be like, try to remember your names. But good to see you, Brian. Thanks for your enthusiasm. That's what I do. Music and enthusiasm. So on the... Thanks for subscribing, by the way. I do genuinely appreciate that people have that much interest in the dumb noises I make. That's really cool. Speaking of which, you might be interested in my mailing list. I'm not going to yammer on about it because I don't actually think I've put a link in the thing. You know what? There is time. I'm going to stick that in the... I mean, also I'm going to finish my sentences so you guys know what I'm talking about. I am going to take the mailing list link, which I always forget to post. I'm going to shove it in the description of the video. It is in the description of the video now, but you might need to refresh your page, which actually I don't necessarily advise doing. If I open up, I'm going to drop it in chat now as well because I can. The mailing list is great because it's a way for me to directly talk to people who have an interest in what I'm doing, and you guys will get to know first when I do cool stuff like release new music, which yeah, is happening. Trying not to say too much about that. Anyway, so kicks on every beat, reinforce the kick on the first beat, snare and clap on the 3 and 4, slightly offset so it has a bigger sound, and I like to vary the offsets just so it sounds not necessarily more human, but it's just a slightly less predictable sound. It's quite nice. It just feels more real. And then hi-hats in between the beats on the and then I'm doing at the end here those kind of quick what are they, 16th notes? The 16th note bursts. I call them bursts. That's not the right thing to call them. Bass line is really easy. Start with doing root notes on the offbeats. For this one I thought I accidentally pressed the F when I meant to press the B, and I quite like the sound. I think that's a flat 5, isn't it? So it shouldn't necessarily sound good, but I liked it, so that's why I kept it. And if I hadn't done that by accident, I wouldn't have got there naturally, because flat 5 is not something you tend to put in things because it sounds rotten. In this case, it sounds cool, so I left it. And I knew that in B I could go up to D. I knew that because I've been writing music for most of my life. And it was the end of the phrase, so I knew I could lengthen that. And then I did a similar thing. I just went down on this 4th bar. So it kind of implies a B7 minor 7 chord there, and then I knew that E and D I could stick on there as well, kind of the bass equivalent of a drum fill, I guess. You just stick something different at the end of a phrase to make it more fun. You'll then notice I copied that over. I copied the bass into the chord track so that I could I made that does D sharp. Should have been a D sharp? Should have been D. Oh, that should have been D. Oh no. Well, that was horribly wrong of me. Oh, but it's fine here. Hang on, what's going on? G sharp. F. Oh, that's a different chord, that's why. Oh. I confused myself. Brian Wallington, been thinking about getting Cubase for a while. Which Cubase do you have on screen? Good question. 10? 10 Pro. It doesn't say it anywhere. That's really helpful, isn't it? I think it's Cubase 10, and it's the Pro version. So the most up to date and the most expensive one. But it works real good, and I like it. And I hope that if I keep using it, they'll give me free stuff at some point. Yeah, I like Cubase a lot. The artist edition is actually really good and is under 100 quid, and you can do a lot with it. And my partner uses that to edit the podcasts that I do, and it works really well, and it actually comes with a few basic instruments, so actually it's a really good starting point. I think it's £70. Don't hold me to that. I mean, we could always just Google it because we have the power, don't we? Cubase 10 artist. Let's have a look. Go Google. 10 Pro is expensive. It's expensive for me, and my income is from music. So yeah, I totally get you. Do I just not have internet? I must have internet. I'm streaming. I think all of my internet is going into streaming. I think Cubase Artist is about £70, so it's still an investment, but it's not a subscription. It's a permanent license, so you just own a Cubase license from that point. You don't have to repay for literally no reason. I hate subscription model software. I really do. It's so dumb, and it doesn't stop pirating Adobe. Right, so all I did was copied the chords over and then built thirds and fifths on top of them. And you'll notice that when I have a string of chords that works, I'll copy all of the tonics and then paste that and go up a 5, so I don't have to put in a 5 for each of them. The only thing to be careful of is when you then do thirds or sevens, obviously those have got to be adjusted depending on what key you're in. Most of the time, if you listen to a pattern and something sounds dodgy, but you know that the tonic has been extrapolated from the bass line, probably going to be the third, so just knock it up one or down one semitone, and that usually fixes it. So these are all just long chords, or I've taken the bass line and I've stretched them out so they're not those staccato bass hits. They're just long chords. And the melody, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I copied the thing I did in the hi-hat. And then I went up to the D here because that's what the bass and chords are doing. And then I thought I'll just go up the scale and down. I copied the rhythm, and that is as much as I was thinking in that 5 minutes. I wasn't doing anything complicated. I was just thinking about that. Oh, what I did here, I like to do rising inversions. So these are the same chords in this section, in this repeat, but I've put the notes in a different order. So rather than this B being there, the B is on top. So we call that first inversion because I don't know why I did that. Oh, my neck just crunched. God, everything's happening today. And I'm oversharing. So the third degree of the scale is the lowest note in the chord, so we call that first inversion. Numbers. Yeah, so that is, if you do that and basically change the inversions such that the chords increasingly go upwards, it tends to have a nice satisfying upwards feeling. And that's a really nifty trick that if someone asked me to play that on a piano, my brain would melt because I'm not a good pianist. But when you're writing music electronically, you don't have to worry about that, and it sounds good. Let's do another 5-minute challenge. So we'll just put all of that in the bin, change the tempo, find the clock, maybe have a little sip of water, yellow water. 5 minutes, start. So we're going to start again with the drum kit. Oops, 1 bar. Let's do a pattern I would never normally do. Oops. yeah, that's not something I would ever normally write. Let's instead go for the offbeats. Let's duplicate that. Yeah, maybe that. So bass line. Oops. Does that work? I mean, it'll have to. No, that doesn't really work. Let's try... that kind of works. And we're going to copy that over to the keys. That's kind of cool. I'm going to do that for the sense of upward momentum. Change the sound of that. E. I am Windows, Brian. The reason I am Windows is so I can build my own PCs, basically. There it is. So, in this 5 minutes, I did this. Actually quite like it. It's a bit weird, but I like it. I mean, like, if we repeat that a few times... quite nice. I think maybe if we changed the bass sound so it was less abrasive, less drony. If we maybe changed the melody so it was a bit more chiptune-y, I don't know. There's lots we could do there. Ladies and gents, this has been fab. I absolutely love having you guys here and talking. That's a real treat to be able to interact in this way. Doing these live streams is really cool when I get to interact with people, because often with doing stuff on YouTube, it's a bit like I don't know, throwing stuff out into the world, and then I don't often hear from people, or if people are actually enjoying it, they aren't vocal about that, which is fine, because YouTube isn't the social platform it thinks it is, except when it comes to live streaming, especially live streaming out to all of my Mixer, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, all these different places, and Facebook as well. Like, you do get to actually interact and talk to people, which is really special, I think. I'm going to leave it there. Don't be surprised if this week's YouTube video that will come out on Friday at 4 p.m. GMT, good plug. Don't be surprised if that is about speed composing, basically. Brian asks, I have an iPad and a Windows laptop, a very old one with Windows 10. We're thinking about getting a Mac. Well, I mean, my thing is, I don't like Macs because if something goes wrong with my computer, I like to be able to fix it, or I like to be able to call up my friends who can fix it. If something goes wrong with a Mac, you have to go and speak to someone in a very special shop. I don't like doing that. I like to be able to take ownership of the things I own, rather than feel like I'm renting something from a laptop library. That's just how I feel about Apple. Also, I don't really like their whole business thing. I don't like Apple devices, but that's just me. I think things are easier to fix if you own a Windows-based laptop. Creative people tend to go for Macs because creative people tend not to be good at fixing things. That's just my opinion. That's just my experience. I will always encourage people to go Windows over Mac, but if you're used to using Mac and you think you can use it faster, I don't know if you must be able to get Cubase for Apple. Not sure. Yeah, that's worth looking into, Brian. Good luck with that. Feel free to drop me a message or a comment on a video if you want more advice about that. Yeah, do sign up to the mailing list. I think that's super important. If you're on YouTube, it will be in the chat and in the description if you refresh now. If you are on Twitch or anywhere else, you can just come find me on Twitter, and you can find the mailing list link there. It will be everywhere because I'm good at posting stuff. This is the awkward bit where I have to turn around and press the button, because my buttons over here don't work anymore. So that wasn't expensive, it's fine. Thanks for hanging out. Next stream, which will be on Monday, will probably be a hardware synth stream. So I'm just going to literally be making dumb noises for a couple hours. Do feel free to join me. And I will see you then. And I need to untangle this cable and then turn around. And that will allow me to press the end stream button.